So Rich and Michelle are back again today. We're going to be focusing on the freezer room. So as part of Dump and Run, we need to get a floor built in here. So that's our plan today. There's quite a bit of wood to be cut in there and a lot of measuring up. And we're also going to get some stairs in. So the old stairs are pretty dangerous. So what we're planning on doing is adding in some beams down either side here and then start stepping in some steel, some 150 by 6mm steel steps. So yeah, that's today's plan. So Richard has cut the two side beams for the stairs. He's cut the stair plates. We've fitted all of this into the freezer room, and we've tacked in, the two side beams have been tacked in. We've also tacked in the 3 stair plates so that we can keep the side beams dimensionally stable. What we're going to do now is rip the whole lot out, we'll grind it out and take it downstairs, and that allows us to MIG weld in all of the stair plates. We'll then take it over and we'll get into some sandblasting. So let's get the stair set out.
It's not going to be hot.
Yeah.
Where are you going with it?
Down all the way to the ground. To the other side of the
Workshop?
Yep.
Up until now, we've had an old ladder that we've just had sort of clamped in to get down into the freezer room. It's always a bit precarious. It's always a 50-50 chance of death climbing into this room. So what we're doing is welding in some beams to go from up here down to the floor, top and bottom on both sides. And then we've got these here. They're 150mm by 6mm, so 6" by 1/4 inch. They're 600mm wide, or roughly 2 feet, I think they work out. And yeah, so we're just basically stacking those in, and we're building a ladder that's a solid steel ladder pretty much. So it's welded in top and bottom, so it'll be really stable and all of that. Just so we can reduce the chance of death to like less than a 20% chance when you're coming down here.
And this is into the accommodations. This is going to be half. This room will have a wall between them.
Yeah, so this is used to be the older freezer room. We always refer to it as the freezer room. But yeah, it's basically just a massive empty space that's now going to become accommodation. So depending on the layout, it's going to either be 4, 6 or 8 people down here. And then you come down this ladder and this can get access to the whole bottom half of the boat. So behind me is the freezer room, and in front of me that way is the engine room. So there's a watertight door in this bulkhead here, and then yeah, that's how we access the whole lower end of the boat.
So that's the shape you've tacked it. You're happy with it. It fits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
So it's all tacked together.
It's in that spot there.
We've done our measurements. It's all tacked together. We're now going to go down and basically fit all of the other steps, and then we're going to MIG weld them up. It's just tacked with an arc welder, and I'm not very good with an arc welder, so I don't know how strong they are. Probably rubbish. So yeah, we're going to go down and we'll sit them all in there and then MIG weld them, and then yeah, we'll bring it back in, stick it in, and MIG weld it top and bottom, and we've got a set of stairs.
All the ground.
No, just a rock.
Okay.
So just hold there.
Like 2 steps for you. So I've wiped down the room, and I knew there was a little bit of rust on the floor. It's a little bit surprising actually. I think there's been a leak in this temporary window. I've seen it damp sometimes thinking it's condensation, but I actually think it was probably worse than that. And what you can see is it would have travelled down the window, down the wall, along the floor, and that's what's the result. It looks really awful, but it's actually, there's plenty of steel there. But it has gone under the paint and it's travelled through to the other side, so we're going to have to strip that out. I'm going to dig it all out, as you can see there. One thing I've learned about steel boats so far, one small thing is don't hide from the rust. Just dig it all out, blast it, and do it properly. So we knew this was coming. We wanted to get all the big jobs done and be sure we could manage the project before we sort of tackled the little bits and pieces, but we're at that stage now, which is amazing. So we'll go through and we'll etch anywhere that's, you know, like this. And yeah, where the paint's come away, we'll scratch that back, blast if needed, or just guys outside doing some painting with Michelle. Yeah, we'll etch anything that needs etching, then we'll start getting some layers of paint. I'll do quite a few layers of etch, it just makes it easier. Yeah, so I'll tackle that, and then I have to tackle the hatch.
I set myself aside, lead the way on this trial. If you don't know the way, we can stop and make a change. I know we walk for days, losing hope, fading love. This night will be okay, waking up to another day.
Is the yellow? Oh. I try and play with the ball bells because I've got no air pressure whatsoever at the top. Like dump them open and then back off again. No, forget it.
So this morning we were blasting away with our sandblaster Stan Lee, and it just completely stopped for some reason, and we're not 100% sure what, but we think it's done something pretty catastrophic inside the motor. And yeah, lo and behold, Callum, our neighbour here, just turned up and said, "Oh, can I borrow your sandblaster?" And we're like, "Yeah, absolutely, but it's not working." And he said, "Oh yeah, no worries." So the solution he ended up coming up with was he went into town without us knowing and he bought a brand new bloody water blaster. So yeah, he's just donated that to us, so it's replaced Stan Lee and we can carry on with what we were doing.
What's wrong? Might be a bit hungry.
So Jess looks like she's just beaten up a walrus, but she's actually just been painting for the last, I don't know, hour or something. Yeah. So let's go through and check out what she's been doing. Oh, thanks for that. Ryan's making coffee again.
That's all I do.
So we left Jess alone for 10 minutes and then turned up and she's done all of this. So she's gone through all of the blasted areas that we did yesterday. She has rust killed everything, so rust converter, and this is the first coat of an oil-based etch, so it's a high zinc content etch. So everywhere where there was bare steel or we blasted it or whatever it might have been, she's gone through and done, including around this rim. So this rim's actually going to get cut out eventually, but we're just painting it up for the next 6 months so we don't have to think about it. But she's also gone through any sort of spots and nicks around the roof. She's gone through and patched up anywhere we weren't 100% happy with. So yeah, she's done bloody awesome. Hello, what are you doing in here? Hey, holy shit, look at that.
The only colour I have available.
So we have two colour options in Brupeg, 70s brown or drug runner black. This is the colour of the wheelhouse, and it's also now the colour of one of the interior cabins. Yeah, this all goes under the insulation, so yes, it won't be seen, but it's actually a really cool paint. It's an antibacterial paint, so it stops mould really well. So yeah, that's looking good. Alright, so now that the stairs are all built, the main game in town is actually getting a floor into this room. So this allows us to basically cut pieces of wood in and out, big sheets of plywood, all of that sort of stuff. It means it's quite a bit safer getting in and out of that room as well. We've got some stairs that are not going to collapse on us. So now that that's all done, let's get into making a floor in that room. So there's a bit of an issue with actually trying to figure out how to get this floor level. There's two different types of ribs in here, which is making it a bit harder to figure out exactly how to measure it up. So I'll show you what the ribs are like just so that you can visualise what we're trying to solve right now as well. Nice. So the front three ribs, piece of basically 75 by 6mm flat plate that forms the rib, and then it comes down onto this here, which is basically you can sort of see it's a frame in the boat with about a 50mm or a 2-inch lip sort of folded over. The original boards are basically, we're copying the original design in this freezer room, so they strap the board to the front of it like that so that they could independently adjust it rather than stick a piece of wood on top, because we don't know if this black frame is level all the way through the boat. If all of the frames are different levels, the floor will always rock. So we're going to stick the board in front of the frame like that, and that way we can adjust it before we bolt it. So the front ones, we've got the front three pretty much sorted. We just need to figure out where's level and then bolt them in. The back ones, you can see there's the straight flat bar, and then over here the rib turns into a piece of angle iron. So it's 75mm high, so 3 inches high and 2 inches wide. And what that's doing is it's holding the board out by that 50mm. So we have to chop more off these back ribs, off the boards that we've got for the back ribs, to get them hard up against this piece of steel so that we can remove this gap here so that we can bolt it up flush. So eventually it'll look much like these ones where they're pretty much up against the framing. So we've levelled up the front frame and the rear frame. The trick now is basically running a string line down each side so that we can get all of the equivalent frames in between level.
So Richard's just slotting out the ribs, so this allows us to get about another foot on either side of the boat for floorboard room. And finally we're going to cut all of the edges of the floorboards at a 45-degree angle. Basically just allows us to get a nice neat join up against the hull.
So yeah, that's our freezer room having a floor built into it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a big part of dump and run.
Yeah.
So the plan is to basically get the floorboards, I mean they've obviously all been cut, we just need to pull them out now and get them wood preserved and then bolted back in, so that's just a small minor job we'll do during the week. Rich pretty much built that floor by himself single-handedly, as well as the stairs.
Stairs as well,
The bulk of the work he did himself. I was working during the week and then he basically just took it upon himself and got that all done. So that's an enormous step forward in terms of dump and run for the boat.
It means that the top deck and the bottom deck, like the accommodation's now accessible, really accessible,
Yeah.
and actually you don't risk your life every time you try and get to it.
The stairs of death.
You can get to the engine bay without risking life in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks Michelle and Richard. You guys, unbelievable. You know, we kind of running to keep up with you occasionally, which was really fun. And yeah, it was really fun to meet you and get to know you. And thanks for all your help and everything that you donated as well. People might not know, but Richard donated a camera for us, a GoPro.
Yeah, like not just a camera.
Underwater,
not just a camera. He donated a GoPro, but he donated like
the gear
about 50 different mounts and extra batteries and chargers and like the full works.
It's unbelievable. And not long into starting work, he took Dame to Bunnings, which is like the big warehouse for tools and things, and snuck in before Dame could do it and paid for stuff. And thanks so much, Richard. We at the time we were like, oh my god! But thanks so much, and all the work you guys did, just amazing, really great. And also Caleb, we want to do a shout out to Caleb, who's been next door working on his boat, head down, you know, really just going for it. He's heading into the water soon, and he brought us when our water blaster died, which you probably saw in the episode. He snuck into town and brought us a new one so the guys could keep blasting. Unbelievable generosity.
Completely not expected at all. Not even remotely in our minds that would be happening. You know. Yeah. And he just did it.
Yeah. So thanks so much, Callum. And you know, when you headed back out to work, you dropped some of the food you had left in your boat to us, and just all those bits and pieces, just
a cool dude.
You're really cool.
Just a really cool dude.
Cool. Thanks so much. And Ian
Cleary.
Ian
Cleary
dropped in a wee while ago, and he'd been in touch and he wanted to donate these to us.
He dropped these in. Like this is
unbelievable.
A massive ship's compass, and
gorgeous.
So there's two. It's about like 15 kgs, like 30 pounds or something. So there's two of these. And he dropped in some massive big binoculars, Japanese binoculars, like the sort that you have at like a tourist lookout or something, where you have the great big long binoculars. There's a set of those as well. And we found out, we did some research on these, they're actually ex-Australian military.
It's the dog playing. You got baby, look. He's playing this.
So these are actually ex-Australian military. We found out, we did some research, we can't actually use them because they're gyro repeater compasses. For those that don't know what that is, I'm not going to explain because I don't know what that is.
All I know is that it takes a whole room and that's the end point that you're looking at. But the whole room is the thing that kind of gets the boat where it needs to go. So, but they're so beautiful. We're actually going to use them for a coffee table.
they're absolutely stunning. So we're gonna sink them down into a coffee table and actually have this as part of the coffee table. So
thanks Ian. It was so nice to meet you, and thanks for dropping them in there. little part of you on the boat. It feels really
Yeah.
great. So, and Greg dropped in from Vanuatu when we were trying to get all these boards into the freezer room, the accommodation, so
Yeah.
that the guys can cut them out and fit them. And of course, we were struggling to get them in. He he just wanted to come and say hello and picked up,
Yeah.
just carried them, dropped them down.
Yeah.
Thanks, Greg. It was lovely to meet you, and I hope your travels are going well. Thanks, guys. That's us for the week, really.
So thanks very much. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys shortly.
Bye.
It's gonna cry, it's gonna cry. Hey, I heard you want to leave this place where we grew up. This old town, just leave it all behind. The river's gonna cry when you're gone.